friend.
All the way from New
Debra, you are our first friend.
York.
Debra. All right, Debra, you are our first friend. How does it feel to be the first one out of the box?
I'm so honored. Thank you so much to both of you for allowing me to be your first friend.
Well, the end. And for people, the title of our series is called Cuisine Noir Magazine, Behind the Business, the good, the bad, and the sometimes ugly.
Yes.
Sometimes ugly. So we are very excited to have you on. And I know Sheree knows a lot more about you than I do, but I want to get to know about you, about especially your aunt, the secret sauce.
Yes.
You know,
Auntie
like
Mavis.
one day we're gonna have to bring her on because she seems to be the real secret weapon of the
You got
organization.
that right. Yes.
So first things I just want to ask, and Sheree and I are just going to go back and forth with you, have a conversation. Like, share a little bit about yourself to our audience.
So again, thank you so much to both of you for inviting me on. I was born in Venezuela in a tiny town. Well, it was a small town, but it was an oil town. My mother worked for the oil company there. But I was raised in Trinidad. I lived in Venezuela for my first year. My mother I still have a lot of cousins there. But I was raised in Trinidad and Tobago. I went there when I was about a year old, and I grew up there, stayed there until I was 18. And then I came to the United States to go to college. The plan was to go to college, then go back to Trinidad and, one day be the first female prime minister.
Oh, yes.
But I fell in love with business and marketing, and I ended up staying here, getting married, having a family. I worked 13 years at PepsiCo, mostly 10 of those years in Pepsi-Cola, 3 of those years in the restaurant business. They owned Pizza Hut, KFC, and Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And I got my dream job. I was vice president of marketing for the restaurants for Latin America and the Caribbean. So it's like home, getting to travel back home on business. It was fabulous. I'm not gonna.
So this is why we're doing this series, because that didn't come out in the interview.
Yeah.
So and Sheree, please come in whenever you want. But I've got a myriad of conversation pieces. Did food find you, or did you find food? Because like PepsiCo was food in your thoughts, in your minds, getting that position. Like, was it something you wanted to do, get involved in the food industry?
I went after Pepsi, but not because it was food. I loved marketing, and it was one of the top marketing companies. Roger Enrico was still there at the time, and they were edgy and bold. And, it was choice of a new generation, the PepsiCo challenge. And I was very attracted to the company, their culture, the business. And so I, literally pushed my way in the door of, they came on campus for interviews. I wasn't on the list. I pushed my way in, talked to everybody at the cocktail reception like I was invited, and got myself an interview.
Nice.
And then stayed there for 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I loved it. I have lifelong, career-long mentors that I met there, and lifelong friends from that time.
What were some of the lifelong lessons, or some of the lessons you learned that you carry on today, that you encountered and carry on with you in that stint with PepsiCo?
So I would say while I was at PepsiCo, my entire career was marketing. I later transitioned into general management, but that's where I got my marketing chops, if you will. And I think the first thing I learned was the importance of just really knowing your business, understanding your business, knowing your numbers. I think we get excited. We hear marketing, we think of ads and new products, but first and foremost, you got to know your numbers. You got to know your business. Where are you selling? Where are you not selling? How are you selling? What are you making? That was the first lesson. Know your numbers. I think the second lesson with respect to marketing was about being courageous, being bold, take a risk, think big. You know, that was the era of big idea marketing, um, and you got rewarded for risks, even if they didn't pay out. Sometimes I think it's one of the things that Pepsi really valued. And the other thing I learned was that the importance of team. That you can have the biggest and best ideas, you can be the hungriest and the most ambitious, but you're not going to get it done alone.
Wow.
And you have to reach across and work with sometimes very difficult people. I mean, Pepsi is the bottling business. There are a lot of franchisees. Same thing in the restaurant business. And so you've got to build rapport with those folks. And sometimes it's contentious because, they're never happy with the amount of money or the amount of support. At the same time, we have to be partners. So, I learned about, using influence, building bridges with folks that you have to do business with.
Awesome. Well, I want to get into the food for a second. So
okay, no, go ahead. Like I'm saying, Debra, where's the book?
well, I want to
working on it actually.
Good.
Very cool. I want to go back to some of the food memories growing up and
Yes.
just talk about that. So just, even before you came to New York, what was that like?
So, as when you're an immigrant, I'll start from here, then I'll go back. When you're an immigrant, the number one thing you miss most from home is food, the food. And in our family, we had, as many Trinidadian families, because what people don't know is that Trinidad and Venezuela are very close geographically and there's oil in between. So there's a lot of travel back and forth. And so a lot of the foods that we eat in Trinidad are often things that came from Venezuela. Mm-hmm. For example, at Christmas time, you guys may have heard of pastels. They're called hallacas in Venezuela. And they're called pastels in Trinidad. Pastels is something that was a family tradition. My mother's mother was Venezuelan. My father's mother was Ecuadorian. But pastels at Christmas time was like a family event. You had to, I learned very young how to make it. I remember my grandmother, doing the meat and we used to, those days, burn the leaves. And everybody had a job to make the pastels. One person was to cook the meat, another one person was to do the masa balls, another one was to fill the pastels, wrap the pastels, and so forth. My first job was to eat the pastels.
You got the best shop first, right?
But that was a tradition, and I'm proud to say it's a tradition that goes on today. My daughter knows how to make pastels.
Awesome. You got to keep those going.
Yes. And so really important. And so, and then my mother, I'm an only child, but my mother was one of 12. And food and sustenance and cooking was just always a thing. There were 6 girls and six sisters and 6 brothers. And we always got together around food. Food was the thing that, when there was a big meal, an event or whatever, it always was about, what's on the menu. Are you making oxtails, Auntie Mavis? Auntie Grace, are you doing your salmon? Auntie Claire, are you making something else? It's always about who's bringing a plate, who's bringing a pot of something, how do we pull it all together? And then, when we left there, when we got together here, it was sort of the unifying thing. Sometimes you'd sit around and long for certain fruit or certain vegetables that, we couldn't find in North America. And we would just, dream about, remember how great it tasted. And then somebody would cook up a pot of pilau, and so it was a way to bring family together. It was a way to honor, food is a way to honor our heritage and our history. But I think the single biggest thing is that food is not just about sustenance. It's not just about nourishment. Yes, that's important, but it's also so much of a family building thing, and it's a unifying thing, especially when you're far away from home.
Awesome.
Very nice. I love it. I love it. I can relate because we just celebrated Thanksgiving this past weekend in Canada, and
Yes.
one of the things there was oxtail. Another
Yes.
thing was homemade cornbread,
Yes.
rice and peas.
Absolutely.
I'm just going, wow. So I can so much relate. Vishri, you want to carry on? I'm just my head just like going right now. So getting back to the experience when you were at PepsiCo, were there a lot of Black women or women of color that were executives?
No. No, there were not. There were some Black male executives, but sadly, I, for example, was the first marketing director who was Black for brand Pepsi.
Wow.
Wow.
Now it's changed now, thank goodness. But, there were not many, Black female role models in the business. And not just, I hate to say, not just at Pepsi. It was a challenge looking around other companies as well. So, it's still work to be done.
Yeah, and again, this is why I'm so jacked to be doing this series, because these stories are very important, and you're sharing evaluated experience in the food industry, and many of the challenges that are existing today have been around for a long time.
Yes, absolutely.
I respect you. I consider you a barrier breaker. You were the first.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's funny because from my perspective, right? I grew up on a dot. I literally a dot on the map. I came from Venezuela, and the part of Venezuela that I came from was not Caracas. It was not the sexy part. It was like a desert.
Right.
And so, I think it's a shame that I would be the first, right?
Right.
And I say humbly, there's nothing that special, about me that I should be the first. And I wish, and the pipeline behind has grown, but it's still not as full as I think it could be.
Absolutely.
And that's unfortunate.
Wow. This is great. Like I said, I'm waiting for the book.
Yes, I am working on it.
All right. I'm waiting for the book. Vishri, again, jump in whenever you're at, because I don't want to be all over this, because I like the conversation piece are just rolling out of my head.
I want to talk about the exit from corporate America and then going into now starting your own.
Right. So, I like I said, I did 13 years at Pepsi. Then I did 10 years at J&J, where I'm happy to say one of my, that was probably my most fun part, even though I had a charmed career at Pepsi. 10 years at J&J was just fabulous. That's when I went there to launch Splenda.
Okay.
And I launched Splenda, and introduced Splenda to the world.
What? Hold on. Let's talk about that. Hold on. We got to put the brakes on right there. You got to share a little bit about that story, because you're not going to get away with it. You're just like, oh, I just did this and I did that. Please share a little about that story. That's, again, wonderful accomplishment.
Yeah. Johnson & Johnson was looking for someone with some food experience to launch. They were looking to launch what they thought were nutraceuticals, so the combination of pharmaceutical and food, or healthy foods. And specifically, they were looking for someone with knowledge of the beverage business, to launch this new this new sweetener, low calorie sweetener. And that's what I went there to do. That I went there in 1999. We launched in 2000, and it was just sort of launching the brand and building the business around that. We literally went from, 0 to number 1 over the course of like maybe 3 or 4 years. And it was exhilarating, to build a business. And we had other brands as well. We had Lactaid, we had Viactive. At one point we had Sesame Street vitamins. And it was and Benecol, and so it was a fun time, and an awesome company and a team that we actually still have Splendor reunions. We had our last Splendor reunion, our 20th Splendor reunion, just this past weekend of the team that came together to launch that business. So I went there as vice president of marketing to launch it.
Wow.
And then 5 years later, I was president of the division of nutritional business. So.
Sheree, if we don't do another conversation series, I'm good right now. I'm good. Like I can just land right here, but I know there's more to come. But you're like Sheree, you're hitting it out of the park with this young lady, and Debra, you're hitting it out of the park. I love hearing history because there's so many things that our people created that we don't know about.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to be part of this conversation.
I would say launching Splendor was definitely the highlight of my career. I just loved it. And to have, to still go into Starbucks and hear someone say, I'll have a 2 Splendor latte, warms my heart.
Wow.
And so I switched that so I was there for 10 years. And then I went to Mars, where I was chief consumer officer. And then I was president of Mars Chocolate North America.
Nice.
So... and Canada was part of my division, so North America, including Canada. And that was a wonderful job. Now, Mars is privately owned by the Mars family, and they invest a lot of time and money and resources into those brands, which is one of the reasons why those brands are so strong to this day. And then in 2015, and so if you saw Betty White on the Super Bowl, that was me. If you ever had pretzel M&Ms, that was me. If you had, at one point because one of the things I worked on was, we went through a time at Mars where we were trying to get the caloric content down, and so we reduced the servings. So one of the things we did, we took the Snickers bar and chopped it up. So, if you ever seen like Snickers bites or Twix bites, that was me. And so my last role there was Chief Health and Wellbeing Officer. And then in about 2015, I transitioned out of operating roles into governance. And I now sit on the board of 3 companies: Archer Daniels Midland, which is a huge agribusiness concern.
Is that ADM?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Dollar General. Most people know.
Nice.
And I just joined that board this year. And I also sit on the board of Gannett, which is a USA Today network and also a network of local papers.
Nice.
And I'm a board advisor for a company called Pharmavite, which is a Japanese subsidiary. They do nature-made vitamins and so forth. And then because I have free time, I started a business with my family. And, I love innovation. I love new products. I love launching things. And I was over at my aunt's house, and she was berating me a bit that my generation in the family had not picked up the mantle on all of the cooking. And so, because still, when the family got together, would be, hey, Auntie Mavis, are you making this? Auntie Grace, are you making that? And she's like, we're getting old. You guys have to pick up the mantles. I'm like, but you guys enjoy it so much. We're happy to just eat. So I said, you know what? I actually have time now. You should teach me some of these recipes. But then I always have my business hat on, and she always had these sauces that she would make, every Caribbean household has a green sauce in the refrigerator, right? So, and then pepper sauce. And I said, geez, these are actually good products. She used to, I say sell with air quotes, because she was not a businesswoman. I was like, okay, well, what are your costs? Are you making money? She didn't really know. She didn't really care.
Right.
She was really more doing it for the love of it and the sharing of it.
Sure.
But I said, hey, look, I think these we could really sell these. So we went into business. I called the company Mavis Foods. That's my Aunt Mavis, the middle child of the 12. She is what I call the chief inspiration officer. So she does all the recipes. It's her recipes, and she approves the final recipe. My daughter is in the business with us, Kia, and my daughter is 23. And she's helping with a lot of the social media, getting it out there, because we are only on an online business. Right. And then I sort of bring it together, I'm the self-entitled sauce boss. And my fiance serves as his title is the money man. He is the CFO.
Wow.
And so it's all in the family thing. We're still young and we're still small, but we're growing and we are enjoying it so much.
Wow. Well, let's talk about the products. So share, I've got them, I've tried them. I've got the 2 new ones, but I won't give that away. But let's talk about
before we go any further, but people are blown away, and I'm just putting up here. There's a lady in Ottawa saying, "Great talk, fire, FYI." I'm sharing on Instagram Live, and we'll send viewers to you.
That's
if
right.
there's any question in the chat, I will share it. So it's an international conversation tonight. It's fantastic. Before we move on, though, Sheree had asked you, you're exiting from the corporate world. When did you know it was time to leave? And do you remember that day that you said, no more corporate?
Well, so one thing you have to know about me, I'm a planner. I always planned to exit. I'd always said I do not want to be in a corporate job at 60. I wanted to leave before 60. And did I make that up? I probably did. But, after 60, you get something called the golden handcuffs. It's just too hard to leave. And so I saved up my coins. And I always said, I'm buying my freedom from corporate America somewhere between 55 and 60. I'm going to exit and create a new path. I don't like the word retired. I don't like that word because that conjures up images of someone, maybe always with not much to do or on the golf course. I think there's it's just a different phase of life. And I'd always decided that I always knew that I wanted to do governance because I want to stay busy. I want to stay in corporate America. I just didn't want the stress of making the number every period.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I was going to ask you about that. That can be stressful. I know.
Yeah, and after a while, it's just unhealthy, right? And I knew myself well enough to know that I would tire of it. As much as I loved it, I knew that I would tire of it. And, just get very sort of wary of the political games that go on inside corporate America. And, as you get older, you kind of lose the ability to curtail.
We got you, Debra. We got you.
So for me, I planned it. I just always knew. Now, in terms of when that specific day came, I don't know that I remember, but it sort of came. It was in that period where I knew it's going to be somewhere around this time, and I will read the messages and the signs around me, and I found that I was not super excited to go to work in the morning. And that I just did not want to fall into that dullness of you just going to the job and you do, whatever, and I was in a job at that time where it was a lot of, I felt like I was doing the same meeting like 10 times with 10 different people. And some people are great at that. I'm not. And I think it's always important to know what you love, and to do what you love. And I found that I was doing something I didn't love anymore. And it just kind of felt like, okay. And then I started looking around for board roles. And I guess maybe the day that I knew was I'd gotten an interview for Gannett. And it felt like, okay, this is the sign that I've been looking for, that it's, it's time to make the passage.
Wow.
Yep.
Sheree?
Wow. So when we come back to the brand, Bazodee.
Yes. So we started Bazodee. So first of all, I wanted to call it Mavis's Sauces, and we couldn't get the trademark. So we went through a gazillion names, and then eventually we said, you know what? Similar to what I learned when I was at Splenda. I mean, Splenda wasn't a word that meant anything, right? It was a word that we gave meaning to through our marketing. So I knew that as much as I would have loved to have had Auntie Mavis's name on the bottle, since we couldn't do it, I thought, okay, well then let's go another direction. Let's get a name that sort of symbolizes our culture and the fun of the brand. We came up with Bazodee. And so for people who are not Caribbean, Bazodee is a Trinidadian word, really, that means sort of crazy, local, head over heels, usually in love or crazy for something. So we say, if people cook with our sauces, they'll be Bazodee for your food. So we started first with with 3 sauces. We started with our green sauce, so Marvelous Marinade. This is the green sauce that everybody should have in their kitchen, and this was supposed to be a typical West Indian green sauce. But what has happened with it is that people use it for like a chimichurri as well. We've had people. I gave it to a chef. He made pasta with it, like a pesto. So this has turned into a very versatile sauce, full of, culantro and parsley and onions. And then we had 2 hot sauces. We've got, and we call them our soca sauces. So this is sort of a very mild hot sauce. And then this one has Trinidad scorpion pepper. So it's a bit hotter. Now, I say that, but you know how West Indians are.
Scorpion pepper?
Yes, Trinidad scorpion pepper, which is the second hottest pepper in the world.
Oh.
Yes.
How popular is that sauce, the scorpion one?
So interesting. For people who love hot sauce, they do love this. But there are many West Indians, my Jamaican friends especially, and some of my Trini friends are like, oh, you need to put more. Make it hotter.
What?
But I can tell you, I can't eat that much of this. I can have like a little teaspoon of this. This one I can use a lot. And this one we use a lot with this makes awesome wings. I mean, you don't just use it as a pepper sauce. You make wings with this. I do chicken drumsticks with this. It is so good.
How much would it cost to get you up here to do that?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because we're hoping to announce a program with a Canadian chef. So I can't. It's not final yet. But
it's okay.
We're working on something, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. And so we launched with those 3 sauces about a year and a half ago. And Sheree featured us in Cuisine Noir. Thank you so much. And then this year we just launched 2 new sauces. So this reflects a little bit more of the East Indian culture in Trinidad. So we launched with our curry. This one's called the Bazodee Real Trini Curry, right? And it's a simmer sauce for people who, oh my gosh, to burn the curry, to do this, to do that. You can use this as a simmer sauce, or you can also use it as last night for dinner, I had some leftover chicken. I stripped up the chicken and put some of this in with it. put some vegetables, stuck them in the
Oh.
microwave, and was delicious.
Yum.
I just got to interrupt here. Debra, you have brought the first moment in all my journey of like 2,000 conversations. And I'm going to tell you something. There is a lady mooring Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to put her comment up here. She says, "You're making me so hungry. Hashtag Mavis Food. Hashtag hot sauce wings." But
There you go,
she is actually, I'm going to show it. She's actually broadcasting this live on her Instagram channel. I
Thank you.
have never had anyone in my community do this. So you are the barrier breaker. I'm telling you, I've never had. I'm just like I'm gonna just have to do one of these. Like I'm just going like.
So cool. Thank you, Maureen.
But like that is fantastic. But wings. Wings.
Yes. So the wings are really awesome. And by the way, I should say, and this sauce won some awards for cooking, as well as the hot one in the World Hot Sauce Awards.
What?
We won in the hot category. And then this year we launched the curry, and then we launched a tamarind.
Yes.
So these are a little bit more of our East Indian heritage in Trinidad.
Yes.
And we're having, honestly, we're having so much fun doing this and doing it with my aunt and with my daughter. Just makes it, very special.
So you said something interesting. You said the word fun. Now remember, this is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Has it always been fun from day one?
Gosh, no.
Okay.
No, and I'll be honest, even through the tough times, I guess it's more fun in retrospect. So I'll give you an example. When I decided to go into this with my aunt, I said, okay, give me the recipes, and then I will work with a commercial kitchen, and we'll get a commercial recipe. 9 months later, we got the first draft of a proper recipe. My aunt did not own a measuring spoon. Did not have any. I mean, she's one of those cooks.
The vibration cooking.
She literally, it was like it was like an orchestra. She was just picking things and putting them in the pot and going by sense and feel, and the first few recipes, I said, you have to write it down. She would forget ingredients. I said, I need to be able to make it exactly. But she would forget ingredients. I was like, it's not tasting the same. Oh, but did you put no, you didn't tell me to put that in it. So it took us a long time. I brought her measuring spoons and measuring cups. The way we eventually got it was I filmed her. I said, you know what? Forget all of it. I'm just going to film you and put the camera here. You do your thing. And that started us on the right path.
Wow.
So the first time I just let her make it. The next time I stopped her at each turn and said, okay, fine. Let me measure that before you put it in the pot.
Wow.
I could have imagined the look on her face the first time you brought all these measuring cups and things.
What's that? I don't use that. It threw her off, actually. So that's when I said, okay, fine, just do it without it. And then I'll go behind you and I'll measure each step. And even little simple things like she would say, well, you have to blend something or versus mince. It actually would change the quality of the sauce if you did blend versus mince. So, those were some tough times because I was questioning if we would ever get to the recipe. And then, when we first started shipping, it took us a while to get the shipping packaging right, you send something out and someone comes back and says, oh, I got a broken bottle. Right. It's like, oh my gosh, quickly, send out a new order. You never want anyone to have a bad experience. So that took us a little while. We got that right. But, even through the tough times, I guess I just I feel so truly blessed and favored that I kind of roll with the punches.
Uh, well, let's talk about when you were creating the products. Obviously, you had the Caribbean audience in mind, but tell me, who did when you're looking at this, we're creating this product. How did that audience? Who did you want to tap into?
Yes, everybody.
Okay.
So here's one of the things that spurred me, because I told you I spent my career in the food industry and in marketing. I remember going to Wendy's and they're serving on the menu board Wendy's burgers with sriracha sauce. And I'm like, hey, what? Wait a minute. No, nobody even knew what sriracha was broadly not that long ago. It told me a couple things. It reinforced this notion that people are willing to try outside of sort of their typical menu, something a little bit different. I hate the word ethnic, but cultural sauces have been growing for years, right? But then in this industry, you look around and everybody knows Chinese food, everybody knows Indian food. People are now doing, knowing Middle Eastern food, but Caribbean food outside of jerk, not everybody knows, and the feeling is everything Caribbean is hot. And so there was a part of us that really wanted to make sure that people understood we're representing our culture, but it's more than what you might think. And so we wanted it to be, much, much broader. We did it with the Caribbean audience in mind and the South American audience in mind. But we wanted it to be of interest to everyone. And yes, one of the things we do is we used to go to these shows and where we table our product and people would hear Caribbean and they go running in the opposite direction because they think, well, everything is hot. Wow. And we have to explain, well, no, we have some hot sauces and some that aren't hot. And so it's an education process, but we enjoy that.
Debra, in the early days of the company, did you do any of that test marketing? Like, because Sheree said, who was your market? You said everybody. Yeah. And was that your mindset right from the beginning, or did you do any focus groups or things like that, like they do today? Or did you just put it out there and just go for it?
So, I've launched products for J&J and for Mars with huge budgets. I was launching this with my budget.
Okay.
So I did small sort of just family or friends groups. Hey, tell me, what do you think? Whatever. I knew people loved Auntie Mavis's sauces because she had been sort of selling and giving them for years. And honestly, the fact that we were just going online at first, I thought that would be our test market. We'd learn in the field. One of the things you learn in business is fail fast. Go out there, give it a try and see what happens. And I knew enough to know that we wouldn't fall flat on our face. The question is, how successful would it be?
Can you say that again? I love that philosophy.
Yeah.
That right there, that is, you just dropped knowledge bombs all over the place tonight, but I really like that. Can you repeat that again?
Well, no, I knew we would not fall flat on our face. I just was not 100% sure just how successful we would be.
I love that.
And so the way to do that is, you got to put yourself out there. And beautiful. I think that's one of the things that I do, when I talk to people, there's so many people with ideas and they're not sure, is it a business or not? Sometimes you don't want to overthink it. You don't want to put yourself out financially too far, but you got to take a risk and put it out there, do the best that you can, put your best foot forward. And then, you can fix it as you go. And for us, I was thinking, I was marketing to what I call CEO mom. So mom, who is the CEO of the household, she's the one deciding what's coming in and out of the pantry. She's deciding what's being cooked. She's making decisions on, depending on how many people in her family, X number of meals per day 7 days a week, you know, go, go, go. So she's the CEO. And our goal was to give products to CEO Mom that would make her life simpler, that would give her family choices, healthy choices. We have all natural ingredients, nothing artificial in our products. They're vegan, vegetarian, non-GMO. And it was, how do we make life a little bit simpler for her and give her family something different and interesting?
I have to interrupt here. I hope that people who are either watching this live, watching on the replay, or listening to this on the replay, can you listen to what this lady is saying? Like I'm loving I'm getting so much out of this. I love the term CEO Mom. I think that is fabulous. Like I'm just going, wow, like bam, like yeah, here's another person who loves that. I love that CEO, and that lady Serena Wills is a CEO mom with her little son there, so she can fully relate to what you're saying.
You really are. If you think about it, you're making the executive decisions for the household. You're often managing the money. You're often, managing the schedules of everybody in the household. If mom is down, the household doesn't always work. That's just the truth.
Wow, that's
and that was our bullseye target. CEO Mom, how do we make her life a little bit simpler with our products?
Awesome.
Sheree, I need to just catch my breath. Please come in. Like I'm just going. The knowledge bombs are just like all over the place.
No.
I'm just going.
So availability in terms of shipping. Do you ship to the U.S. and Canada right now?
So it's so funny. We get so many requests to ship to Canada. We're still working it out.
Okay, but hold on a second. Let me ask, how are people in Canada finding out about you?
Come on now. People in Canada are very connected to everything that's going on. And we have gotten a lot of requests. And we've done a couple of things with folks in Canada. But the challenge we have is that the shipping costs are so high.
Yeah.
And these are glass bottles. So so it doesn't make sense to buy a product for $10 and then have $10 in shipping. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is to find a partner in Canada to whom we'll send truckloads and then they'll distribute in Canada. We're working on something.
Okay.
Well, we should talk.
We're gonna. Not the.
Yes.
After 2 minutes, it was should to gonna. Now it's must.
Let's talk. We will talk. Because that's the opportunity for us, is to find a partner in Canada who will take those shipments. Because it's a huge opportunity. There you go, Dr. Lady. My new distributor. I love it.
That's phenomenal. That is like I've learned so much. Let me ask, when did you realize in the journey that you are on to something? Was there a moment that you said, wow, this is it? Because I love success stories, but even more so during the journey, when did you realize that, we're on to something here?
Gosh, that's a good question. When we first launched, we were working with someone with Sheree and I know, a guy by the name of Raymond Lewis, and he got us our products to Florence Fabricant at the New York Times, and she wrote a positive review on our sauces. We sent her the sauces, she tasted them, she loved them, and she wrote a positive review. And I think that was one of the moments when I said, wow, the New York Times loves our sauce. We might have something here. And so that was that was a big moment for us. I think, but what I love is when we first started, I had on my phone, anytime someone would buy a product, I'd get a sort of a register ring on my
notification. Yes.
And that was the thing that made me just sort of feel like I'm just loving this. There may be something here.
Beautiful.
But I will also say this year was sort of a make or break year as well. Tough year for a lot of businesses. In March, I would say it was like, oh my gosh, shut down. I mean, nobody was coming to the site. It was very, very quiet. And my thought was, okay, well, let's just hold on. Let's see how we can sort of weather the storm. And then, I would say about April, May, things started coming back. I guess people were settling back into a new normal, if you will.
Yeah.
People were cooking at home more. We started putting out sort of weekly recipes. And it was like, hey, here are some healthy recipes that you can give to your family. And that sort of helped the business. And then things just sort of came back from there. So, but, my heart really goes out to so many other small business entrepreneurs who are just struggling right now to sort of stay afloat. And, especially, Black and brown businesses are hurt disproportionately in these tough times.
Sheree.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's like, what do we ask?
So where do you see vision-wise? Where would you like to see the company go?
Well, one thing I have to say, so one of the parts of the business that we did not expect was that these sauces would be used as gifts.
Okay.
And gifting became a really big deal last year. So much so, I'll show you. We launched, so we ship our stuff, and we did sort of this
nice
West Indian box.
Yes.
Greetings. And in here is sort of three or four. We could put 3 or 4 bottles. You pick which one, and we ship it as a gift. So gifting became important. So we're gearing up for a nice gifting season. A lot of corporations are doing gifts this year because there's no corporate parties and things like that, and they want to motivate their folks. So we're hoping for a good gifting season. A lot of people like to give those as gifts to people they know who like to cook. It's sort of a nice gift. So, so that's one of the things that we're looking for. And this year, last year we had really, by accident, we launched sorrel, a sorrel drink.
Oh no! Time for me to leave the No, I'm going.
And so we're looking to see if we can do a huge batch in and out of sorrels for November and December.
Oh.
Yes, it's Auntie Mavis's recipe. It is, I have to say, I put her sorrel above all other sorrel drinks.
Stick me with a fork. I'm done. No, oh boy, that's.
Yes. So we're gonna do some sorrel, and then with respect to how we build the business, the strategic plan that I built always was to go from online and then into home shopping. So we are talking with consultants to get us to like a QVC or a home shopping network as the next step before we would even consider retail. So let's see where it goes. We're hoping to get on for next summer, cooking and grilling season.
You know what I love, Debra? And one of the phrases I use periodically when I'm closing a conversation, especially in 2020, to a gentleman named Robert Smith. The richest black man and richest black person in America, period, has a personal net worth of about $5 million. And about 4 or 5 months ago, he was interviewed and he was asked, does he have any final words of advice for especially Black Americans? And he said, don't waste this crisis. And I'm seeing what you have done. You have been able to pivot.
Yes.
Can you just share with not only our food entrepreneurs, but just entrepreneurs out there, especially Black and entrepreneurs of color, the importance of being able to pivot?
Yeah, I think pivoting is important in life, and it's critical in business. You know, you have to read the signs of what's around, and then you have to say, okay, fine. If what I have been doing is not right for this moment, then how do I shift? And you do have to be careful. You don't want to shift completely out of who you are and what you do, but how do you take who you are and what you do and then make it right for this moment, right? How do you adjust? You know, for us, we found, oh my goodness, so guess what? People are at home. People are not going to restaurants as much. So let's give them recipes, easy recipes, like 15, you know, a 2-minute recipe video that shows you how to quickly do a dish using our sauces. You know, we hadn't, we'd always planned on doing recipes, but we said, hey, look, you know what? It's COVID. People want to be healthy. You want to cook. Here's something you could do with the kids. Here's something you could do really quickly. Here's a lunch idea, you know. And so, yeah, you have to look to the moment and say, okay, what's needed in this moment, and how do I adjust my business? You know, we hear a lot of, you know, fabric clothing companies that pivoted to making masks, you know, or alcoholic companies that pivoted to making, you know,
sanitizer,
sanitizers, yeah. So, you know, you've got to find a way, because it is, you know, it is sometimes you pivot or you fade away, you know. It's sometimes that significant.
Wonderful. Sheree.
No, I'm just, you know, that's a great lesson, and wanted to, you know, end as well as some other lessons learned as an entrepreneur, or that, you know, that you would pass on to someone else for sure.
Oh my gosh. You know, I think the single biggest thing I would say to entrepreneurs, because I have people coming to me with, hey, Debra, do you think this might be a good idea? And, you know, yes, other people can look at your ideas and they can tell you, well, geez, you know, I had people say, oh, Debra, why are you wasting your money or your time on this? There's so many sauces. It's too crowded. Nobody's interested in paying. Nobody would pay $10 for your sauce. And, you know, I say, if you really believe you have something, then, you know, find a way to make it happen. There will be naysayers. You have to get comfortable with the no. You just do.
Yep.
You will get told, and especially if you are a Black or brown person and you're going for a loan, you will get told no 100 times, and maybe that 101 time will be the time you get the money.
Right.
But, you know, you just can't. You know, other people will stomp on your dreams, and you just kind of have to get up, dust off, and go for it again. You know, go for it in a different way. Go for it again, you know, with someone else. Don't give up on your dreams if you really think you have something. And then, but, you know, take some advice and perfect it, but don't just take in all the negative energy that it's, you know, it'll never work.
And like you say too, you got to be very careful of who you tell and who you talk about.
Yes, people will take your ideas.
Yes, that and then like they say, the vision and the dream was given to you, wasn't given to them. So obviously, they're not going to see what you.
They may not see what you see. You know, someone a while ago came to me with she said, "Hey, Debbie, do you think I could make a business out of this?" And it was an area that I'm just not familiar with. And I said, honestly, I don't know. How, you know, what makes you feel that you have a business? Talk to me about that. And as she spoke about it, it's like, oh, okay, I'm getting it. That makes sense. But don't just give me don't just give me your idea and say, hey, look, do you think I can do this? Because I don't know. You know, it was about cakes. It was, you know, and I don't know about that industry to tell you whether that, but then as she spoke about why she, you know, what was special about her cakes and why she wanted to do these cakes, I said, okay, fine. Now you're talking about, people love stories. You know, they want to hear your story, and you have a positive story. You have a fun story. So I think you have to be careful about how you nurture your dream, because it is a treasure. But I always say, you know what, the worst thing would be that you think you have a wonderful idea and that you never ever go for it.
Right.
you know,
No regrets.
you got to go for it.
Yeah, definitely do it.
Wow. I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be covered tonight. V, Sheree, anything else you want to cover?
No, this has been awesome. Thank you, Debra.
Oh, Debra, like,
exactly
I mean,
why we wanted to do these, because this was stuff that we weren't able to, well, not that we weren't able to, but that we didn't share in the article. So this is just amazing.
So, Debra, but before we end our wonderful conversation, because I told you at the beginning we don't do interviews, any words from your heart for the people out there?
You know, I would say, first of all, this is a tough time, right? There's in the U.S., there's social unrest. Well, there's social unrest around the world. Then there's the pandemic, and we are all a little anxious. You know, we have an election coming up. People are very divided, even in families. And I feel sometimes like we just kind of just need to take a breath. And I always say to folks, look for things that you have in common, versus fighting over the things that you disagree about. I am very worried about where we go in this country, because people are so divided in the margins, on the edges, and they look across the aisle and they see, you know, that, you know, this person loves this candidate and I don't like that candidate, therefore. And you know, we've got to find, you know, that may be so, but we've got to find ways to come together. And I just feel very, very strongly that we all have to do that in our own way. Eventually it makes a difference. And maybe I'm just, you know, the eternal optimist.
Well, it's good to be an optimist. And do you have any words of, and you've supplied so much about food knowledge, any final words about those who are involved in the food industry, people of color?
Yes. So, you know, I think that it's similar to the lesson that I learned early at Pepsi. Know your business, know your numbers, know the opportunities. Online, you can get all types of information. Is there a market for your products? Mm-hmm. You know, for me, it was sort of, you know, how do I go out there and find out about all of these sort of categories of sauces and condiments that are growing? Can I carve out a little niche for my business? And, you know, and if you're in food, know that, you know, there is an infinite number of possibilities of food. Every day, new products are are launching in the market. No, they don't all succeed. And your first one may not do as well as you want, but that doesn't mean you give up. You know, stick with it, fix it, refine it, come with the next one. And most important thing I would say is just stick with it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Folks, like I said, knowledge bombs are dropping tonight. Knowledge bombs are dropping tonight. V, Sheree, thank you so much. This, like, I know, like, the bar has been set, eh?
Exactly.
The bar has been set. High up. High up. V, Sheree, thank you for sharing this wonderful lady and her family with us.
Thank you so much.
Any final words from you, and how can people find out more about this wonderful magazine?
Sure. So they can go on cuisinenoirmag.com. Thank you for putting that up. We do have, if you search for Debra Sandler, you will see her story. We are also going to do a updated version coming up, so you can look forward to more about that, as well as I'm going to be creating some recipes with her new products. So I'm extremely excited about that. But definitely go to cuisinenoirmag.com to read Debra's story, as well as other stories online.
Wonderful. That my heart is full right now. This is beautiful. This is just wonderful. So I will close it out in saying thank you for everybody who watched this live, who's going to watch the replay, who's going to listen to it on a replay. I'd like to say a big shout out to the wonderful people, some of the wonderful people who helped make it an epic conversation. Dr. Tachi, who's the host of Mediascope, the livest program about media, tech and pop culture. It's on Instagram Live. Well, not on Instagram Live anymore. It's on 6 p.m. most Wednesdays on Facebook Live, Periscope, LinkedIn Live, and WJMS Radio. Big shout out. Morning Ottawa, the first person to take one of my streams and put it live on Instagram. That is large. Much thanks, Serena Wills and everybody else who watch this or listen to this live or is going to watch it or listen to it on the replay. Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. One of the other things I do is once a month, I host online conversations for fathers that are co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization, and Dove Men Care. As always, when I close out a conversation, I say this: live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Thank you, everybody. This is the first of a journey. And
yes, November 10th. November 10th. We'll be back.
See, we got November 10th is coming up for the next one. Follow myself and follow V Sheree. Keep plugged in because there's more coming. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and good night, everybody. And stay safe and give yourself grace. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.